If I'm the Cleveland Browns, seeing what is transpiring now, I would love to understand your thought process of just how they're managing Shedeur. Is it a realistic situation for him to play this year, or what should we expect from your eyes?
Well, from what I'm told, Dylan Gabriel has been better, has played better, and is more ready, whatever that means. But this is what I was told. I think if you can sit and watch Flacco and understand, prepare.
The NFL owners are sweating harder than a coach in overtime, and it's all thanks to Cam Newton dropping a bombshell that nobody saw coming. Picture billionaires in designer suits pacing in circles, their game plan shredded because one rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, just flipped the entire NFL script upside down. For decades, they've been the puppet masters.
Tells me that it wasn't just the Baltimore Ravens. It was 3 teams: the Cleveland Browns, the Philadelphia Eagles, and it also was Baltimore Ravens. Now, this is where the perspective gets skewed, because why would Shedeur not want to go to Baltimore? If any team has been on the cutting edge of saying we figured out the recipe of drafting and developing good players to play great and elite, that's one of the teams that does it at a high level. Why not go?
Pulling strings while players smiled for the cameras, hugged grandma, and thanked Jesus for the opportunity. But this time, the puppet cut his own strings. Cam Newton lit the fuse when he casually revealed on live TV that Shedeur Sanders straight up rejected not one, not two.
No reports came out in the midst of the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns game on Sunday that Adam Schefter reported that Shedeur Sanders declined the option to be drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in the 5th round at the 141st pick. And a lot of people had a lot to say, and Cam Newton was on ESPN First Take, and he stated his position on what he thought about Shedeur Sanders declining that.
But 3 NFL teams on draft night: the Baltimore Ravens, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Cleveland Browns. The moment the words left his mouth, social media exploded. The old guard called it arrogance. Fans called it revolutionary. And NFL owners, they called their lawyers. The NFL draft is supposed to be sacred. It's the moment where billionaires play real-life fantasy football with college stars. But this year, one rookie turned the draft into a chessboard. Cam Newton didn't whisper it.
And I think if I'm Shedeur, you would ideally want to learn behind a guy like Lamar Jackson for this particular reason and this particular reason only. Not a lot of players can really cope with your star power, with your stardom, right? And let's really give credit where credit is due. At 28 years old, being a phenomenal athlete, the thing that I respect a guy like Lamar Jackson the most, we've never heard him have any off the field.
He said it loud, proud, and unapologetically. Shedeur Sanders told elite franchises no, and the media didn't know what to do with that. ESPN anchors squirmed. Analysts laughed nervously. But beneath that laughter was fear, because if Shedeur could reject billion-dollar teams, what's stopping the next rookie from doing the same? Cam painted it perfectly. Shedeur wasn't ungrateful. He was strategic. Baltimore might have looked like a dream, learning behind Lamar Jackson, a top-tier organization with structure and winning DNA. But to Shedeur, it looked like a dead end.
Look, Shedeur is not an athletic quarterback where he's going to play a different game. Obviously, he's more athletic than Flacco, but I said when they drafted him, I thought that he'd start a game this year. And hopefully he does, just to get that opportunity. I think what surprised me is when he manipulated the draft and told the Ravens not to draft him. That, to me, you're going to be in a first-class organization. You're going to learn from a lot of different people there. And
sit behind Lamar for 5 years, maybe get a pity start when Lamar catches the flu? That wasn't the plan. Shedeur didn't want to be a stand-in. He wanted his own stage. The media twisted the story instantly, labeling him spoiled and entitled. But Cam Newton wasn't buying it. He defended Shedeur, saying this wasn't ego, it was intelligence. He knows his worth, Cam said. He's not scared to bet on himself. And that right there sent shockwaves through NFL boardrooms. Owners aren't used to players choosing themselves over the system. Baltimore's brass thought they were offering gold. Shedeur saw a cage wrapped in velvet. And when you grow up as Deion Sanders' son, you're not trained to wait your turn. You're trained to create it. Then came the Eagles.
More evidence and more facts have come out that it wasn't just the Baltimore Ravens that was on the clock to pick Shedeur Sanders. I said this to you guys in a previous video. Why come we haven't heard about the teams that didn't want to select Shedeur Sanders? Now, all of a sudden, 4 or 5 months later, we're bringing up stuff that don't even make no sense, has nothing to do with nothing. Everything surrounding around Shedeur Sanders, like I told you.
The Philadelphia Eagles, one of the most stacked teams in the league, fresh off paying Jalen Hurts enough money to buy a small country. To everyone else, that offer was prestige. To Shedeur, it was another trap. No rookie QB is touching the field in Philly as long as Hurts is in charge. It wasn't disrespect, it was clarity. Shedeur didn't want to rot behind greatness. He wanted to build his own. He didn't want to be the next Jalen Hurts. He wanted to be the first Shedeur Sanders. The Eagles expected him to play humble, take the clipboard, and wait years for a moment that might never come. Instead, he looked at the offer like spam mail and moved on. NFL fans couldn't believe it. Who turns down the Ravens? Who turns down the Eagles? But Shedeur wasn't thinking safe. He was thinking legacy. And that's where the story gets wild. Because the team he didn't turn down was the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, the same franchise that treats quarterbacks like disposable coffee cups. Cleveland, where careers go to die or be reborn in chaos.
An organization that is not good at developing quarterbacks. Ownership hasn't been good. Team hasn't been good. You get bad habits. And I think being in a good organization and understanding top to bottom would have been more important. But I think he'll get a chance. I just don't know if you get a chance for a bad team, then people say, yep, see, told you he couldn't play.
Well, see, with that, hearing that he did not want to go to the Baltimore Ravens was a definite head scratcher. But when you have certain other details about that situation come out, when he does have the utmost respect.
It's a franchise built on heartbreak and chance. But that's exactly what Shedeur saw. A chance. No superstar blocking his path. No franchise quarterback casting a shadow. No 5-year plan to keep him buried on the depth chart. Just chaos. And within it, opportunity. Fans went to war online. Half called him a genius. The other half called him insane. But whether you love or hate it, everyone was talking about Shedeur Sanders. And in the NFL, conversation is currency. The Browns' reputation didn't scare him. It tempted him. Every season, they burned through quarterbacks like Tinder matches. For Shedeur, that wasn't a red flag. It was an open lane. If you're confident enough, that's where legends are made. For the first time, a rookie wasn't waiting to be chosen. He was choosing. Cam Newton, watching from the sidelines, couldn't hide his grin. To him, this was chess. A young man with self-awareness and leverage in a system built to control him. While owners whispered about entitlement, Cam saw empowerment.
Shedeur, by the way, was pretty spot on in terms of, like, who cares that he said it. And if you have doubts about how good he would be, I threw this out there yesterday. Like, if I look around this league right now, and I look at some of the quarterback play that's been going on around this league, like, do I think that he couldn't put up at least like Spencer Rattler numbers to this point, or JJ McCarthy numbers because he's been bad, or Russell Wilson who just got...
But that was just the beginning. Because when Shedeur made that choice, it didn't just shake the draft. It shook the entire power dynamic of the league. NFL traditionalists couldn't handle it. Guys like Alex Smith came forward, saying Shedeur was making a mistake, that he should have just taken the offer, learned under Lamar, played the game. Bro, but let's be honest, Alex spent half his career as a placeholder while his teams hunted for replacements. Of course, he'd say play nice. It's the language of the system. Obey, wait, conform. Shedeur flipped that playbook on its head. He didn't come to the NFL to be a backup in someone else's story. He came to write his own. Cam Newton called it for what it was, a generational shift. For years, rookies cried on stage,
pick. Put your head down and grind. The game is not just about completing the pass. The game is more focused on the neck up. Hey, what's my side adjust? Hey, who am I? How the reps to be had, hopefully, throughout this preseason.
Grateful just to be drafted. Now, one kid had the nerve to treat billion-dollar owners like negotiators, not gods. And that scared the league more than any touchdown pass ever could. Owners realized this wasn't just about Shedeur, it was about control. If a fifth-round pick could say no to Baltimore, what happens when a first-rounder does it? If players start choosing their fit, their path, their legacy, what's left for the owners to control? You could almost hear the boardrooms panic. The old guard built their empire on loyalty disguised as gratitude. But Deion Sanders didn't raise his son to be grateful for scraps. He raised him to be calculated, confident, and untouchable. Primetime himself once told Shedeur, "Don't wait for the moment, create it." And that's exactly what he did. The irony? The same owners calling him arrogant would have called him smart if he was their draft pick. Hypocrisy runs deep when power's on the line. Now let's talk about the Browns.
A stand-up guy, and if all of our opinions has always led to his on-field performance. Not a lot of people can relate to what Shedeur Sanders has been through in his whole life. And that right there serves even more to make him a better player because it's the totality of the position. And I think Lamar Jackson would have been able to relate to him in many ways.
That's a good point. But how many people are coming out of college thinking about learning instead of playing?
Because that move, rejecting two powerhouse franchises to roll the dice in Cleveland, was either genius or suicide. Cleveland is chaos incarnate, a quarterback graveyard. But Shedeur saw something else. He saw a window. The bar is low, expectations lower, and opportunity wide open. In Baltimore or Philly, one mistake would bury him. In Cleveland, one highlight could crown him. That's the gamble of legends. Cam Newton didn't just expose a story, he exposed a system. He revealed that the league isn't ready for players who think for themselves. And as much as owners hated it, deep down, they knew this was the future. Because once one player proves he can rewrite the rules, others will follow. The fear in those boardrooms isn't about Shedeur's talent, it's about what he represents. Independence, defiance, vision. And that's the nightmare scenario for billionaires who built their empire on obedience. The fans see it too.
In the fifth-round pick, you may make the team, you may not make the team. You may make practice squad, you may not make practice squad. But this is the kicker though, Peggy. You still gotta be a professional because there's 31 other teams that are also looking too. How you go about your meetings on a day-to-day, how you perform, the antics, all the things that they don't really talk about, but they see. People are paying close attention to Shedeur Sanders. You wanna say, oh, they just humbling him. Like, no, bro, he's no different than any other fifth-round pick in the NFL. It's a grind. Everybody who gets selected, even first-round picks, have a threshold of...
Social media turned into a battlefield. Some called Shedeur the next revolutionary. Others said he'd crash and burn before preseason ended. But everyone agreed on one thing. He made history before his first NFL snap. He didn't need a trophy to shift the power dynamic. He just needed the courage to say no. The NFL has never been good at dealing with rebellion. Every era has its rule breakers. But Shedeur isn't just a player. He's a statement. A statement that says, we don't wait our turn anymore. Cleveland might chew him up, or it might make him immortal. But either way, the message is out. The leash is gone. Cam Newton fanned those flames on purpose. He wanted the world to see that the game has changed. And the look on the owners' faces said it all. They weren't ready for this kind of revolution. Shedeur Sanders may end up as the quarterback who forced the NFL to evolve, or the cautionary tale of a kid who flew too close to the sun. But one thing's for sure, he made the league sweat like never before. He rejected billion-dollar franchises like dollar menu items, turned the draft into a power negotiation, and reminded every owner that this new generation isn't playing by their rules. Whether he rises or crashes, the impact is the same. The balance of power has shifted, and the NFL will never be the same.